Hello, welcome to episode 223 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 8th of September. So welcome everybody. I hope you all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today I have some knitting, some crochet, some hand sewing to show you. I have a question from the Ask Me Anything thread on the Ravelry group. I have some confessions. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's all I can say. I have some information on my shop update, but also in the shop update section I'm going to talk about the new Stephen West Makalong, the mystery knit along that's starting on the 1st of October. We're talking about yarn choices. I'm going to be putting a couple of sets of yarns into my shop, and I'm going to also be knitting with one of those, which I'll talk about later in the podcast. And I will also show you a couple of examples of my previous mystery knit along samples that I've got. And then at the end of the podcast we've got a little appearance from Jensen. So I've got a few make-alongs that have just come to the end. I will pop on the screen the winners of those make-alongs. We've got 2 winners from the Craft House Magic Summer Sock Along, which I've now closed, and there is a winner from the Craft House Magic Project Bag Sew Along, which was just on Ravelry. The other one was on Ravelry and Instagram. So the winners will be put on the screen. That's Elaine, Gail and Miriam. So congratulations to you all. And we still have the Craft 20 a Day make along going on in the Ravelry group and on Instagram. You can use the hashtag Craft 20 a Day on Instagram, and the Ravelry group is just open on Ravelry. I've got links to those in the description bar down below. We also have the Craft House Magic Christmas Craftalong, which has started. We've got to get those Christmas makes started nice and early so we're not too stressed coming up closer to Christmas. That make along and also the Craft 20 a Day will go right to the end of the year, so you've got plenty of time to join in, so you can relax and chat away in the thread. I will be drawing for prizes for the Craft 20 a Day and the Christmas Craftalong at the very end of the year, but I'll also be drawing for prizes on the next quarter at the end of September for the Craft 20 a Day. So let's get on with the knitting, shall we? I have got one project to show you this week because I've been doing a lot of crochet. So the knitting I've got to show you is my shift cowl, and this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and it is so lovely. I'm actually, after I've been knitting this, it's made me want to do more spinning because the textures you get and the different colour tones you get from doing hand spinning yarn is just lovely. So these are 3 yarns I've had spun. The darker background one is a silk and merino mix, which is obviously teals. I have got this, the second colourway is this blue here, which is an alpaca, which I hand dyed myself, and the third colourway is the one that goes from sort of a cream colour to a green, and there's also a turquoise in there as well. It's difficult to sort of show you on the knitted piece because the colours are sort of blended in quite nicely. So that is what the textured knit looks like, and I haven't done very much considering how big it is, but this bit here, if you can imagine it, is the back of the cowl. So the back of my neck would be there, and I'm working towards the front. I will pop the picture on the screen so you can see sort of what the front and the back of the cowl looks like when it's finished. But the colours that I'm working with are, like I said, are all hand spun by me, but you can sort of see what the colours look like separately. We've got the merino and silk, which is this one, the alpaca, which is this one, and the merino, which is this one. These two are both sport weight yarn, and this one here is actually a DK, but I'm just going to risk it. They're all 3 of them are 2-ply worsted spun yarns that I've had in my stash for a while, and I did sort of plan to do at least these 2 together, and then actually I found this one in my stash and I thought actually that would work well, I think, and I'm loving the way the colours are working together. And like I said, I'm actually thinking, ooh, I should get my spinning wheel out and do a little bit more spinning. And it'd be interesting to see what Jensen's reaction to the spinning wheel will be. So that is my knitting that I'm working on at the moment. That is an Andrea Mowry pattern, the shift cowl. So on my crocheted section, I have a bit of progress on my Ziggy Interrupted wrap. and I've done this much so far. So I think last time I'd got to about there, and I've actually done quite a lot of the zigzag rows, and I've done a couple of squares for the next square section as well. So that's coming along quite nicely, I think. But I love the way these colours work together. So the Ziggy Interrupted wrap calls for 5 colours, but she does say you can get away with 4, so I am doing 4. So I started off with this purple here, which is a Ducky Darlings in the Poison colourway, and then I picked up Snail's Pace from the Woollen Wytch, then I picked up the Love Letter colourway from the Camel's yarn, and then I went back to Ducky Darlings stall again, and I got Poison but in a different base, so that it's a different darker tone of the colour. So that's 4 really gorgeous colours together, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this feels when it's actually blocked, because I know that merino yarns go lovely and drapey once they've been blocked. I shall show you the colours in the balls. They are these 4, and I think they go together really nicely. So there we go, that is my crochet. I am almost halfway through this now, and then there's some bits where you do some edging along the edges, and I think there's tassels on it as well. Not sure whether I'll add tassels yet. I'll see what it looks like when I've completed all the panel and give it a try on and see what it looks like. So that is my crochet for today. So I've only got 1 project of each, I'm afraid, but now we're on to my sewing section. So I have been hoarding Adam's old jeans, actually several pairs, but this is just 1 pair that I've been working on because he tends to wear them at the knee. Now, I've been meaning to do this for ages, do some sashiko sort of visible stitching to sort of fix them, and I've had a bit of a go on this small repair that I've done on this knee. What I did is I picked a blue that sort of blended in a little bit so it wasn't too obvious, and I just did some stitching, some running stitches this direction and this direction sort of randomly, and I really enjoyed just stitching and not worrying too much about the neatness of the stitches, and I think I quite like how it looks. But I'd like to try doing a slightly more sort of uniform pattern, so when I do the next knee, which is far worse, I'm going to do some guidelines on there before I fix it. So I have trimmed away the excess threads on this knee, and I've put a panel of denim behind it, but I'm going to stitch it onto, which is from another pair of jeans which are more far gone than these. So I'm going to do some stitching on top of that. I've just started to pin it on. I think normally a lot of the instructions say to use some sort of heat and bond or double-sided adhesive so that it binds the fabric that you're using to stabilise it and the front fabric, but I didn't do that with the other one. But I think I might do that with this part because it's a much bigger gap, and I'm thinking maybe if I do some triangle shaped stitches on this one. I haven't actually finished pinning it yet, so you can sort of see the progress in progress view. And you can see the piece of fabric that I've popped in behind. I have actually overlocked that piece of fabric behind it just so that it will not fray when it's in the wash. So I'm looking forward to having a go at that second knee. This particular pair of jeans is actually pretty bad, and there are several holes on the back pocket as well, but I'm still going to have a go at repairing these particular pair just because I love this shade, and I thought that would go really nice with sort of sashiko style stitching on it. So that's a sort of work in progress. And that is all the sewing that I've got to show you. I will hopefully get the second knee done by next week to show you how I've got on with that. So the next section I've got is Ask Me Anything. So I've got a question from my owner, which is on the Ravelry group, but if you don't use Ravelry, you can also email me on crafthousemagik@gmail.com if you've got a question there as well. So Iona was talking about doing sweaters that have got short rows for the bust. You can actually allow quite a lot of area extra if you've got a larger bust, and it makes a fabulous fit. But she was wondering about how I block my garments when I've done this extra pocket of material, because it doesn't often lie flat. Now, I think the simple answer is that you just have to sort of do your best and wiggle it and sort of flatten it as best you can and get the parts that you really need to be nice and neat, to be nice and flat, sort of the bit under here and the sort of bottom hem nice and neat, nice and flat and nice and straight, and not worry too much about the excess fabric that you've got for the bust, because it will stretch out on your boobs anyway, I find. The only other alternative I can think of is to block it on a dress form, but I'm a bit worried about the fabric sort of stretching with the weight hanging down rather than being laid flat to dry. So the next section is confessions. Oh dear, I'm so naughty. I really have enough fabric in my stash. But as I always say, jersey doesn't count. I found on Rainbow Fabrics that they'd got some lovely jerseys. I've always got my eye out for some jersey to actually purchase to make lots of garments with, but obviously at the moment I'm not getting a lot of stitching time, but I do have some ideas in mind. So I purchased 4 different colours of solid jersey. So I think all of these, apart from the white, are a viscose jersey, so they're very drapey jerseys. The white actually is a cotton jersey. So I had in mind for these 2 top ones, I bought dress quantities so I could make some wrap dresses with those, because I thought that would be nice and cosy. It's having sort of a navy and black one. And then I picked the sort of mustard colour to make a t-shirt with. That's a viscose one as well. And then I have in mind, I've seen various versions of something like the Frankie t-shirt. Actually, I've got a Frankie t-shirt on, which is a raglan sleeve with a white contrast sleeve with a different colour neck and a different colour front panel. So I thought, well, I'll pick up some white and then I'll have it in my stash ready to do my version of my sort of contrast white sleeves. So that was my idea for those. And then I saw this. Oh my goodness. This is lovely. I don't suppose you can really see it unless I unfold it. Let's get it out to show you. So this is a gorgeous viscose print that I saw. Actually, the print is slightly larger than I thought it would be. So I'd need to obviously make a dress with it, but I was planning on making a dress with it anyway. Bought 3 meters of this to make a sort of wrap dress, and this is a viscose jersey. And I thought that would be lovely to wear in the summer. And that seems like a really nice quality jersey. And I think they might have some of this left on the website, but I will leave a link to Rainbow Fabrics so that you can have a little look as well. They have really good prices for their fabrics, but they don't always last very long, so best to get them if you really want that particular fabric. So that is my naughty, naughty purchase. Actually, I tell a lie, there's one more, which isn't jersey. So I was sort of keeping it separate. I saw this and I thought, maybe a blouse. Or some sort of top, or it's like a tiny little check of black and red to wear. And this is actually a poly cotton fabric, and I've washed all of these, and this doesn't sort of need too much ironing because it does sort of have a crinkly texture. So I'm thinking this could be ideal for something to take if you're going on holiday. So I'm quite pleased with the texture of that. Hopefully it will press reasonably on a cool iron, so we'll see how I got on. So my next section is shop updates. So in this section I'm going to talk about the Stephen West mystery knit-along. So if you haven't done one of Stephen's mystery knit-alongs before, or any mystery knit-along, basically you don't know exactly what you're knitting, which is very, very exciting. So Stephen, once you've actually purchased the pattern, gives you a rundown of what sort of colours to put together and which sort of colours needs to be used for sort of main colour, contrast colour, etc. So I thought I'd show you a couple of the other ones that I've made previously, and referring to the advice that Stephen has given for this latest shawl, he actually says that the colour play is similar to the Starflake shawl, which is this one. So he's referred to the Starflake shawl as being a similar colour plate to this newer mystery knit-along. And this particular one required 100 grams of fingering weight yarn, 2 skeins of this colour, 2 skeins of this colour, and I just loved knitting this one. So in the new Makalong, there's actually 2 skeins of each of 2 colours and then 1 skein of a colour pop. So the colour play, he says, will be similar to this, but obviously you'll have that extra skein of a colour pop in there. And who knows what the actual patterns will be like, because he always does really interesting, different designs. So that's the Starflake. I think that was possibly 3 years ago. So 2 years ago was Slipstravaganza. and that is slightly different colour play, but I just thought I'd show you what a difference there is in the shawl patterns that he does from year to year. And I chose a green, a purple, a natural colour with those green and purples in as well, and a grey to bring them all together. And this is possibly my favourite of Stephen West's mystery knit-alongs, because it is such a beautiful pattern. I also knitted this in a cashmere, so I'm very tempted to do this year's in a cashmere yarn. Last year's was this one. And I can't actually remember what this one was called. I'll pop it on the screen if I actually remember while I'm editing it. But I was a bit not so keen on the patterns of this until I'd actually finished, because obviously as long as you pick colours that you really like, I think that you'll end up liking your finished object. So these are the colours in my Fade to Grey minis set, which I dyed up in full skeins instead. And I think I pretty much did everything as per pattern, apart from I made a happy mistake in that I actually applied this edge border the opposite way round, so you ended up with a sort of a slight fade line in between those stripes instead of it being like a solid colour. And I actually like it where it fades in a little bit more subtly. And the other thing I did was when I blocked it, I did a little bit of a wavy block on the edge, so it wasn't just a curved edge, it was slightly wavy, and I really like the way that finished off. It's a really lovely, interesting pattern. Once it's finished, I thought to start with it was a little bit sort of busy with so many different patterns in there, but actually when it's all together I really like it. And I actually, one of my favourite bits is this section here and these loopy bits that stick out with little mini I-cords. From week to week, such an exciting thing to join in with. So this make-along, starting on the 1st of October, is going to be called Twist and Turns. I'm very excited to start. So I've put together some colour schemes for the mystery knit-along. So this one here is what I'm going to go with for me. I've got these two colours here for my main colour and my contrast colour, and have this one as the pop of colour. So I thought those would go together really nicely. That's probably easier if I put them on my chest so that you can see them all together. So he suggested to use more tonal colours rather than very busy colourways. So I've gone for something that is mainly tonal, only the turquoise has got slightly darker bits in. Compared to these other tonals. So I'm going to go for this colour scheme, but I also have the option to have burgundy instead. Burgundy, turquoise and mustard, and then the other option is to go for burgundy, petal pink, and then a green for the little pop of colour. So those three options will be on my website tomorrow, the 9th of September at 7 PM GMT, if you're interested in picking up yourselves a kit for the Stephen West Mystery Knit-Along. I would suggest, if you're not sure on what base to have it, is just to order the merino nylon set. I think I might dye myself up a more luxury base, the merino cashmere and nylon base, so it makes it a little bit more expensive. But it does make it a little bit more plump. But if you're looking for a base and you're not sure what to have, I'd just go for the merino nylon. So I also wanted to mention that September yarn clubs will be going out next week, and the October yarn clubs will actually be listed on the 23rd of September, so watch out for that. I have a few more opal colourways that I'll be popping in the shop tomorrow as well, so if you're interested in opal yarns, have a little look in the shop update tomorrow. Or if you sign up for my email list, you'll get a little email update when everything goes in the shop. Also, every month I draw for a prize if you're subscribed to my email list. So if you pop over to my website, scroll to the very bottom of the page, there's a little box there. If you pop your email address in, and that will sign you up to my newsletter. I only send them out when I'm doing a shop update or anything exciting's happening, so I try not to inundate you with lots of emails. So now it's over to you, Jensen. So Jensen today has actually got his tangerine trousers on again, but I've put some little blops, that's a good word, isn't it, of this grippy stuff so that he grips when he's trying to sort of crawl along or walk eventually.
I doubt if he'll be able to walk in the time where he's got to get in to fit in these trousers though, so we'll have to see. But I thought that was quite a good idea. I'll have to see how they wash actually, so I'll have to let you know. But he has been crawling around on the floor wearing them, and he seems to be gripping a little bit better, so thank you, Jensen. And Daddy and Jensen have got matching t-shirts on today.
Yeah.
I am your baby, I am your father. They were the Father's Day present that I got Daddy and Jensen. Oh, thank you very much, Jensen. You're a good boy, aren't you? Do you think you're impressed with the little bits on your toes? Yeah? So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next podcast. Bye!